How do you find a woman for a serious relationship? In my opinion, the key is not to try to impress every woman who shows interest in you. It's the opposite. If you're looking for a relationship that can last for years, you need to know how to choose the right woman. And personally, I wouldn't look only at her appearance, personality, or how attracted I am to her. I would pay close attention to her past and, most importantly, to how she behaves in relationships with men. For example, if a woman has cheated on or betrayed a previous partner, that would be a serious red flag for me. Especially if she doesn't see it as a big deal, makes excuses for it, or says, "It just happened." If someone consciously crossed the line of trust once and never learned anything from it, there's a good chance they could do it again. The same goes for flirting with other men while she's already in a relationship. If she has a boyfriend but is still actively looking for attention from other men, texting them, flirting, dropping hints, and enjoying that attention, I wouldn't consider that harmless. To me, that's already a way of testing boundaries. Another important thing is how she talks about her exes. If a woman says that every single one of her exes was crazy, abusive, stupid, or a terrible person, I would stop and think about it. Because if everyone in her past was the problem and she was always completely innocent, maybe she simply doesn't know how to take responsibility for her own behavior. But the opposite extreme can also be a problem. If she constantly talks about an ex, compares other men to him, or keeps talking about how intense her emotions were with him, maybe she still hasn't emotionally moved on. I would also pay attention to her lifestyle. How responsible is she? How does she treat work, money, everyday responsibilities? Does she keep her promises? Can she deal with problems calmly, or does every little issue turn into drama? I would also look closely at her social circle. A woman can have male friends. That alone doesn't prove anything. But you need to understand who these men are and what kind of boundaries exist between them. If she constantly has men around her who clearly want her, and she enjoys that attention and keeps them around as backup options, that can become a serious problem in a long-term relationship. And there's one more thing I consider extremely important: how she handles the truth. I would rather choose a woman who has a complicated past but is honest about it than a woman with a perfect-looking history who knows how to lie convincingly. Because you can't build a serious relationship without trust. And as for things like tattoos, swearing, or an interest in psychology or spirituality, those things, by themselves, don't tell you whether someone is a good partner. Someone can look perfect and still have a terrible character. And someone who doesn't fit your idea of the perfect woman can turn out to be incredibly loyal and reliable. So in the end, my list is actually much simpler than it sounds. I want a woman who knows how to be faithful, honest, warm, and emotionally available. A woman who respects both her partner and herself. Someone who can talk about problems instead of running away from them. And someone who genuinely wants to build a relationship, not just receive attention. Because finding a woman isn't difficult. The difficult part is finding a woman you'll still be happy with 5, 10, or 20 years from now. And that's exactly why you shouldn't choose the woman who grabs your attention the hardest in the first 5 minutes. Choose the woman you can feel peaceful, safe, and genuinely happy with years later.